Okay, in the last week, I got dysregulated for about a day, and that hasn't happened in 5 or 6 months. So I want to talk about that because I use my real life experience as a way to help people. I will be the test dummy, and I'm okay admitting where I failed, where I was wrong, where stuff might have went south or bad. Not to be like an awakening reality show, but I like to use things as a life lesson from experience. I want to give a couple examples and cover a lot of ground in this one. It's going to be a little longer than my usual because it might be my last video for a while. Not forever, just a while. I have sensed a need to take a break, and I'll explain why in this video. So I want to cover a couple things. Just, boundaries and awakening. That's often misunderstood, overlooked. The need for it, plus what it is and what it isn't, and how I think I actually did this in a wrong way, and how I'm going to kind of change it in the future. And then I want to do a couple things, two things in this video I will do as I record this that a narcissist cannot do. And that's another thing I know very well through experience. So let's talk about it. All things boundaries, emotions, awakening. Here we go. So I don't like to talk about other people. I can only gauge my own experience. So I will give a short example of something that happened only so I can tell you where I noticed some things in me that might be beneficial to tell the audience. Being on YouTube, you get a lot of awesome people. My crowd is great. I get so many great comments. It's fantastic. They're inquisitive, they ask questions, or they just are on their own path and they just share what they're going through. It's fantastic. There's a lot of back and forth and bouncing around ideas that are just so great and beneficial. I love it. And then, there are people that are rough and terrible, some that are just off the wall terrible. So I have a handful of accounts that I have hid or blocked, however that works, on my YouTube because I've been shielding some of these really nasty comments. Anyway, I got a couple the other day from someone I'd never seen before. He must have just found my YouTube and he commented, and they were long and they were drawn out and there was some backhanded compliments. They were very narcy. I know because I have a narcissistic parent, so I spent years digging into this stuff. And when you are raised by that, when you're in it, when you know what it feels like, when you come out of it, when you are liberated from it, and you know all the things you were doing to stay in it and attract it and enable it, it really hurts to awaken out of that abuse and trauma. And it just sucks. There's no way to say it other than, if we're just being honest, it's terrible. So nowadays, the first time I meet someone, one sentence comes out of their mouth, a feeling, I can just tell. I can tell instantly. Just like if you were an alcoholic, you can spot one out in the street probably quicker than I could. What you have come out of, you are very aware of. So I've come out of that. I got these comments. I was aware of it. Now here's where I didn't do the thing that I always talk about. I saw the comments. I knew I could just feel it. I was like, oh, I shouldn't respond. That was the gut feeling. Shouldn't even respond. What did I do? I responded. I didn't listen to my gut feeling. My short response was taken as attitude somehow, and the response in return was wild, outlandish, pretty intense. And I didn't know what to do because it was just so it was so out there that I deleted all the comments and I hid it. And then somebody else saw me do that and they freaked out on me, so I hid them too. All right, that's all I'm going to say about it because it doesn't matter. Everybody's on their own path. I hope that they, find love and joy. For the first time in, 5 or 6 months that I've been sharing my awakening journey, I got dysregulated. It got me. Now, I work with a guy who's, one of his Buttons is, if you call him a liar, he hates it. He'll probably punch me in the face if I like legitimately called him a liar. Now you can call me a liar and it doesn't bother me at all because, I don't know, it's just not my thing. So we each have our individual things, karma, you can call it, things that are really just our triggers. And narcissistic qualities happen to be one of mine. Here's where I got fooled. I've been in such a peaceful state for so long, and I truly did have some kind of shift, some kind of awakening. It's been beautiful. It's been amazing. But being thrown off course like that showed me that, although I've healed so much from this and really stepped back, zoomed out, and just really seen this parent of mine for who they truly are, knowing that I can't change them, accepting them, loving them, not being in contact with them, I actually fooled myself into thinking I had overcome it 100%, completely. I'm done. It's overcome. Now, and this is common. This happens all the time, where I often think I'm doing better than I am, and then life humbles me, and then I get reset, and then I have to just readjust, but with a new level of peace and awareness, which is really nice, which is still here. I was able to not go crazy and beat myself up. The stuff like that used to throw me for a loop for weeks or months. This time it was one day, so not bad. And part of their comments were like, oh, we're going to expose you and tell everyone how fake you are. And I just thought, okay, well, you can't expose honesty. Because here I am talking about my own flaws, which is one of the things a narcissist can't do. The second thing they're unable to do is truly self-reflect and look at themselves from an outside perspective and decide, am I being loving? Am I being hurtful? Do I need to change in any way? So I can do those two things in this video to give you the security that I'm not one of them. But it did, it stung, and in a way it was a little disheartening because I thought, wow, this hasn't happened in so long. I really actually thought I was above this, but this is how things in us stay hidden and how they become uncovered. We have to sometimes fall on our face, be triggered, be pushed, poked, prodded, so we know where the buttons are. Now I have two options. And here's something I want to talk about that I just realized recently. The difference in true healing or the difference in creating a bubble where you can exist in a place that you are not being triggered, but you created it. So your peace is inside this bubble, not outside of it. True healing's outside the bubble. False healing is inside the bubble. And I've done both, so here I am to talk about it. I was having a conversation with a new friend of mine who I met thanks to this YouTube channel. It was awesome. It was deep. It was real. It was open. She's wonderful. And it occurred to me in talking to her about this stuff that around this particular trigger of mine, I've created a bubble. So what I've done with people that I deem or that I can just feel or that I know are of this kind of particular attitude, whatever you want to call it. I hate to label people. I'm not a psychologist or psychoanalyst or any of that, but I can just sense the narcissistic energy really easily. So what I've done with these people is I don't talk to them, I distance myself, or I go no contact, or I block them. So I've created a bubble where I'm not triggered by narcissists. Now I've just realized this. So in other areas, what I have awoken out of, fear and anxiety, and I live in a place of peace now, I noticed the peace because I have been in situations where people were treating me terrible or calling me out or acting in ways that would have usually made me upset, and they didn't anymore. So that's true healing. When something used to make you upset, then you're in that same situation month, a year later, and it doesn't bother you. Not that you're hiding it, it truly doesn't affect you. So that is where I've been at for the last 5 months or so, unaffected, feeling really good about myself. And I got a little prideful. I did. I didn't see it until recently, and that's what's so great about this situation that was really humbling. Um, I have found that in almost every area that I can think of, there's been true healing, except this area with a specific set of people that I'm not good at dealing with. I've created a bubble, and that's not true healing. So, as it so happens, it wasn't just this guy or this second guy. It was another one. It was 3 or 4 in the same day, which is really unusual. One guy found a comment from mine 6 months ago. It was wild. And I thought, okay, if life is serving me this attitude this much out of the blue in one day, it's very clear that this is divine and it's something I need to look at. So here's where it comes to boundaries and a false sense of security. Now, when I was going through the dark night of the soul, I was terrible. I was getting angry. I was lashing out. I was losing my shit on everybody. I was so sensitive and vulnerable, and I didn't know what was happening. And I was, I slipped into meaninglessness and nihilism and existential dread and all the stuff that people talk about that just feels like, what in the actual F is going on with my life? Now, in that time, I needed boundaries. I needed a bubble. I needed it. I was too sensitive and I was too frail. And then when I finally came to rock bottom and just got broken open on the rocks and I woke up a different person, then I realized, oh, I'm good. I'm okay. I'm going to go apologize to everybody and I'm a new man. Now, as I've said before, I'm not enlightened. I'm not liberated. I think that's the final stage, if there even is such a thing. I don't know if there even is. I am 1 foot in the door. I definitely had a shift. It's been really, really good. That's why I share. But I'm a baby. I'm new. I'm 1 foot in the door. I'm learning as I go. And I wanted this channel to be about the hard stuff and the process of awakening and the emotional side of it that people often don't talk about. Because if we're talking about true awakening, for me, it was my heart. What awakened was my feeling, my love, my compassion, my heart opened. My head, my thoughts, that got quieter. Now, anybody can get on YouTube and talk about being one with God and there is no self and all this stuff. And sadly, it really is a really good place for people to hide and bypass that don't want to look at themselves because they want to just be one with God. And there can be a lot of spiritual bypassing, abuse, narcissism, a lot of fakeness from the top. We've seen a lot of, spiritual influencers fall due to weird hidden stuff and lies and sexual things and all this stuff. And how you keep that from happening is you just be open and honest and true with yourself, even if I'm going to attract people that stomp on me. Now, it will hurt if I have an attachment to the self, which I do. I'm not getting on here saying, which I think some people assume, that I'm not human, that I'm free of emotion, and that my life is perfect. I'm saying my baseline used to be fear and anxiety. So I would have happy moments and go right back down into fear and anxiety. I would have really crappy moments and come back to fear and anxiety. Now my baseline is peace. I have blissful moments now, and I come back down to peace. And just recently, I have had a dysregulated day where I went down, and then I came back to peace. But it's not over. It just showed me that I have attachments and that I'm still clinging. Now, I almost got on here too soon. I had to wait until I was back in peace because I want my videos to be coming from a place of love and peace. I almost got in here a little too soon, and the first, it's like I heard it in my spirit. Do not defend yourself. Because that is a sure sign of ego, and it's just not, it's not needed. It's not necessary. If people want to bash me or, do a whole video series on how I'm fake, I might find something in there that's useful, that's beneficial, that they might actually be right about, that I could look at and feel and let it go, Awakening is a process. For some people, it's not. I get that. But it seems like those stories are rare, where people have an instant awakening or instant enlightenment. Or when you get to a place like, I've watched Osho a couple times, and it seems like, I think in one of his talks, he said he doesn't have thoughts. And when you're there, it's like, yeah, what is there to even think about or fight or argue? Like, there's no thoughts. You just exist. So like that's a liberation that I don't even understand. So for me, it's been a process. I would say I really love it. It's wonderful. And thanks to YouTube, I have seen areas where I need to look, where I need to feel, where I need to let go of. But bringing that all to a close, boundaries are important. Occasionally, when you're really sensitive, when you're going through something, you need to have boundaries. You need to lock yourself in a room and don't listen to outside voices. When you find a place of peace, those boundaries can expand. And eventually, maybe when you're fully enlightened or liberated, you won't need boundaries. But I am on here telling you I'm not that. I still need some boundaries. But the boundary is for this purpose. You get triggered and you realize, whoa, I can't do anything in this dysregulated state, so I need to have a boundary from this kind of thing that made me dysregulated. And then in the boundary, when you're in a safe place, you are able to go inside and feel and find out where that button was that was pushed and remove the button. And then when the button is removed, here's the hard part. Sometimes you don't know if it is. So you have to kind of put yourself out there to be smashed again and see if it affects you. And if it doesn't, the button is removed and you can remove the boundary. And if it does, it's perfectly okay to just admit, nope, I still have a button. I'm going to keep this boundary so I can work through this in a safe place. And everybody's different. And sometimes we need different things. Like, I am not a physical touch person. I have learned that my son, he's 3 years old right now, he is a physical touch. Today, just today, he got mad and he was just arms crossed, stomping. He was very upset that I told him to stop punching his sister. And I said, hey, buddy, do you want to talk about it? And he looked at me mad and said, no, I don't want to talk about it. And I calmly said, okay, well, do you want a hug? And he looked at me mad and jumped into my chest and hugged me. And I thought, wow, I would never do that because I'm not a physical touch person. But we all need different things. And we all have different paths that we're on. And I'm attracting people that are obviously similar or like the way that I speak about the path that I'm on. Now, to bring this to a little bit of a close, I have been feeling, so earlier I explained how I didn't listen to that inner knowing that said don't comment. I commented anyway. Every time I don't listen to that inner feeling, it does not go well. So for the past probably month or two, I have not been listening to one. And what it is getting off of all social media, including YouTube. Not forever, probably just for a time. but I was enjoying sharing these videos. And I didn't listen to it. And here's the thing. Nowadays, in America, especially with the way, hustle culture and YouTube, and there's all these ideas out there that, like, you got to be consistent, you got to keep pushing it, you got to grow your audience, which I don't care about any of that stuff. But that's not true for every person. Like I just said, every person is different. So for me, I am not here to be consistent. I'm here to be honest, to be genuine, and to share the parts of the awakening process that are challenging, hard, and maybe some emotional side of it that is helpful to people. So, yeah, I didn't handle this last situation well. I got dysregulated. It was challenging. And for me, if I'm listening to what the spirit, what the inner knowing is calling me to, what my heart is saying, is to take a break for a little bit, go back into silence, find a deeper rest, and then start sharing again. And I think when we each listen to these inner callings that we have, we're just better for the world. Everybody and their mother could tell me, don't do it, be consistent, you'll lose followers or whatever. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The ones that are going to stick with me will stick with me. The ones that are just transient will be transient. I don't really mind. But to all of you that have been with me for a while, thank you. I have some really loyal commenters, and I really enjoy everybody. But I will be taking a little vacation. My email's still on here. I'm not deleting YouTube. I'm just going to delete the app from my phone. And I'll still check comments maybe once a day or once every couple days after this video. But I got to do what feels right for me. And this is it. Yeah, it's not my job to save anyone. It's not my job to get people attached to me. It's not my job to grow an audience. Like I said from the very, very first video that I did, which is really visceral and raw and kind of pathetic, actually. I did it and I was sitting in my truck crying, almost crying. Just like, this is hard. What am I doing? You can see the change from my first video to now. Like, you can genuinely see the change if you're questioning if this is real or not. But my goal, and it was brought to my attention from another good friend of mine who I talked to about this. He said, hey man, your goal has been always to show the process, not to look or sound a certain way. I mean, that's ego. He told me while I was dysregulated, he's like, why don't you just get on there and make a video and show what you're feeling? I'm like, no way, man, I can't. It's too raw. I can't do it. But he was right in the way that this is not for fame. This is for the real process. So I will pretty much be honest about everything that happens in my life. I don't care how far along or where I'm at. If I'm awakened or enlightened or any of that stuff doesn't matter to me. I know what I feel, I know my own experience, and I'm the only one that ever will. And I know other people are also feeling and experiencing similar things because of all the emails and comments that I've gotten. So there is some real process that takes place deep down inside that's very indescribable, but it's very real. It's awesome. Doesn't mean you snap into a place of perfection. It means you snap into a place of awareness. So when you do have imperfections, if you want to call them that, you are very aware of them. And you don't have judgments anymore, so you can actually feel and release things without getting stuck in self-abasement and judgment and shame. I don't feel those things anymore. I felt dysregulated for the first time in a long time, and it was the only time I have ever been dysregulated in my life where I did not feel shame, disgust, or self-hatred, which is great. Also, though, an indicator that I have some buttons I need to look at. I don't know why I'm laughing about this. It's not really funny. It's not really funny, but I mean, the whole process is kind of fun. It looks like I'm watching someone else's, like I'm watching a reality show. This is my awakening reality show. It's just wild. Anyway, I love all of you who have subscribed that really actually are just true and genuine. I love that that's the type of people I'm attracting, and that these one-off comments don't really matter in the long run. It did uncover some beliefs, some attachments that I need to work on now or look at. And we all have them. Until maybe one day we don't, but I see a vast majority of people on YouTube and spiritual leaders and teachers who are probably deceived into thinking that they are farther along than they really are. And I'm trying not to be one of those. Now, it always happens in small doses, and that's just how life works. You know, we think we're doing good, and then we get hit or we get triggered, and we're like, oh, wow, I need to look at that. Or, you know, we start to get a little bit prideful. I'm speaking from experience, where things go well for so long that you just think, wow, I'm untouchable, until you're not. And we need that stuff. We need to get hit. We need to get humbled so we can stay in a place of humility, and our heart can stay open. If you don't feel pain every once in a while, that's not a good sign. It's probably a good sign that your head got bigger than your heart, and I'm trying to stay the opposite. When my heart opened, I realized I never want to go back to living in my head. It's not where it's at. The heart is where it's at. And the heart probably is what leads to full liberation, which I have admitted in other videos I'm not there. Oh, also, question to the audience. I get nasty comments sometimes, and I've just been deleting them or blocking them, but I've been wondering if I should just leave them out in the open, because who cares? But I was just trying to shield everybody from the negativity. Maybe it doesn't matter. I'd love your opinion on that. And one of my most popular video, I was new. I didn't know what happened to me. I mislabeled it. It's called Enlightenment Will Ruin You. What it should have been called was like the first step of awakening will ruin you. But I didn't know what I was talking about. I'm untrained. So if Zen Buddhism or Advaita Vedanta are the paved paths to enlightenment, I was on a dirt road blindfolded. Like, I don't have any of this knowledge. I wasn't in a system. I just got the crash course, and so I've gotten some heat on that video title, and I've been debating changing it to be more accurate now that I'm farther in and I can kind of gauge a little better what's happening. So also, I would love any feedback on that, what you guys would think. What you think about if it's even necessary, or if I should just ignore it. It was like 6 months ago or something. Anyway, that was long. I won't be gone forever, but I need to take some time in silence, not thinking about sharing anything that comes to me. I just need to be alone and quiet. I'll be back. And thanks for watching. I'd love to hear your opinions in the comments. Unless you're a jerk, then don't comment.